And welcome back to Rappahannock Issues. I'm David Kerr. We're here today with Ned Gallaway. He is running against State Senator Reeves and has joined us today for a conversation. We've been having a lively one. I covered a whole host of topics, and one I'd like to talk about now is redistricting. It's always kind of a hot issue between Republicans and Democrats. Both have misused the redistricting power they have. And right now, Republicans have heavily weighted the House of Delegates in favor of the GOP, State Senate a little less so. Proposals to reform redistricting with commissions. What's your view? What should be done to make that more fair and efficient?
Well, I think it's right that both parties are to blame on this. I do support using a nonpartisan independent commission to handle our precincts and to do the boundaries. I think that's the only way that we're going to get back to a sense where voters feel that they have a choice, where it's not so weighted one way or the other that it even discourages somebody from wanting to challenge if they're in whatever political minority that they're in. It has to return where voters can go, no, I want a reasonable choice between two different folks, and they both need to have a reasonable shot at winning, and the political party system, if we can attempt to get it out of its own way, we can do it. Now, the critical part is that it takes politicians to fix a political issue, which, I mean, you have to go, well, is that really going to happen? People would have to vote against their self-interests. But the nice part is that it is an issue, it seems, right now in Virginia where it's gaining bipartisan support. So I have heard candidates running for office, challengers of both parties who are supporting this idea that we do want to take redistricting efforts out of the hands of politicians. And then there are some incumbents that are running who are coming around to that idea as well. So I think we're approaching a tipping point where we're all starting to agree that it's gotten a little crazy in terms of how these things have been drawn in the past and that we need a new system. The trick is getting enough people in to push us over the tipping point so that we can actually see some action happen. It just boggles the mind why you would have to go in. I mean, the 10-year system is interesting and depends on who's in party. But then some of the gerrymandering that we've seen attempt to happen in between the 10 years, it has to stop. I mean, it just can't continue that way.
Well, on another topic that's very sensitive and very sad in many respects, we've had two high-profile tragedies here in Virginia involving the children of state senators. And, of course, national tragedies involving mentally ill people who have committed dramatic crimes. And then the thousands of people who do not commit crimes but suffer from mental illness. Right. In Virginia, there's a strong belief that we don't have adequate mental health care capabilities. Not enough beds, not enough treatment, not enough outpatient treatment. It's a big issue. How would you frame it, and how would you cope with it if you were in the state Senate?
So it's about, I really want to be mindful of Senator Creed Deeds and his leadership on this. Senator Deeds is somebody who borders up in the 17th down in Albemarle County. Got to know Senator Deeds over the years being on the school board in Albemarle County. And his leadership and the first steps that they've made to start improving mental health services in Virginia is something that we need to know that, well, that wasn't the finish, that was the start, and we need to continue along those lines. To be able to have access to the type of services folks need in terms of whether it's the beds, like you said, or other support services they need, the state has a responsibility to provide that. And regardless of where folks are at, whether it's in urban areas or in rural areas. And these folks need to be able to cope, and we need to be there to support them up. Now, our education can play into that because they get a lot of support services as they're going through K-12. And we don't want to just yank that out from under them when they leave the system. So there has to be something there after they leave our schools to be able to pick up the void, if you will. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is what Senator Deeds has been fighting on, and I look forward to supporting him in his efforts because he knows the issue very well, and I think he's got a good vision to help us achieve what we're looking to do in Virginia.
Well, on a related topic, there's been I think it was the Freelance Star reported this morning that there have been more deaths due to heroin than there have been to automobile accidents related to mental health in the sense that it requires outpatient treatment to deal with, as well as criminal and law enforcement. Mm-hmm. I know that's a problem in most of your district. How do you think is a good way to go about fighting it?
Well, I think, it's interesting. I learned more about this issue in the last few months through one of the sheriff races that's happening in the 17th, because this is an issue that's a very big issue in Orange County. And they've been talking about it, especially at that sheriff race level, which is competitive. I think it has to do with a couple different pieces. Education is going to be a big part of it, making sure that we're educating young people, especially about the choices they make and what they have and don't have access to and what the consequences are of certain decisions. But then it's also about giving law enforcement what they need in terms of adequate staffing and adequate resources or adequate equipment, whatever they think they need to be able to handle the issue in their area. So, I mean, I don't think you can just solve it by coming at it and beating it with a hammer on the law enforcement side. There also has to be an education side, and the two should be partnering together to go, okay, what can we do to eventually bring this issue down so that folks don't think they have to turn to this sort of, turn to heroin for whatever reason they're turning to it. That's where the education plays in. But then we also have a criminal system that's going on, and law enforcement needs what they need to be able to bring that down as well. So, in terms of what would I do as a state senator, well, the first thing I'd be doing is going out and talking to both the social services and educators in the community and law enforcement, getting everybody at the table and go, what can we do to plan to help fight this, and what can I do to help you as your state senator to do that?
Well, that leads to our very final question, and that is, tell us a wrap up, if you will. Tell the voters out there why they should vote for you for the state senate, because we're coming down to our last few minutes of the debate, and this should be your time.
Well, I appreciate that. So at the end of the day, we all run depending on a party that we're on, and I am running as a Democrat, and I'm proud of that. A big part of the reason I'm a Democrat is because Democrats have always supported and defended and fought for public education. Education is what I'm passionate about. At the end of the day, education will be my priority, and it will be my legislative priority, not just something that I tout while I'm campaigning. I had a constituent ask me at one point, well, what does leadership mean to you? Because at the end of the day, let's put the policy stuff aside. What kind of representative will you be? And he gave me a few moments to think that through, and I responded, being a good leader and a good public servant is about being present in the communities, being attentive and responsive to the needs that you're hearing of constituents, regardless of whether or not you agree. So as your state senator, what I am saying that I will do is I will be present in your communities before decisions are made by me, before votes I make, and then once I make the decision and the vote, I'm going to come back out and answer to them. So your needs will be, I will be attentive to your needs and be responsive to them. My voters, all the constituents of the 17th will be my partners once I'm elected to state senate to help us progress and move legislation forward in Virginia. So I would appreciate your consideration. You can find us on GallawayForSenate.com and on Facebook. You can find all that via Google. I won't go through all those details, but I appreciate the time here today to tell you a little bit about myself and where I'm at on some of these specific issues.
Well, thank you very much, Ned, and you'll find Ned on his website, and we thank you for being here with us today, and you'll find us in Rappahannock Issues next week.